Hola chiquillos, buenas tardes a todos, espero que estén bien. Para este punto gramatical vamos a hablar de lo que se llama el pretérito. For this upcoming grammar point, we're going to talk about what's called the preterite, and I'll keep it short and sweet. So, for the project that you just did, talking about different vacation things, I told you to keep it on the present tense because that's only what we've been working with to this point in Spanish class, right? Like we know how to conjugate, or at least we should know how to conjugate regular present tense verbs. For example, acampar, you drop the AR and it would be yo acampo, tú acampas, él y usted acampa, nosotros acampamos, ellos acampan. ER and IR verbs are very similar. For example, yo como, tú comes, él come, nosotros comemos, or for an IR verb like escribimos with the IMOS, and ellos comen or escriben, for example. And all of those verbs, but I should say by putting all of those verb endings on those verbs, you've just told about who does what in the present tense. Like right now, what do they do? But for this chapter, what we're going to do is we're actually going to venture into the past tense. So everybody was trying to look up how do you say we went or we did or we camped in the past. And I said, don't do that. The only way that you know how to get there would be using Google Translate, which is not actually using your brain. It's just using, the computer. But for...
Andrea Hogan-Tobler, please come to the office. Andrea Hogan-Tobler, please come to the office.
But for now, what we will do is start out really easy with how to form regular verbs to talk about what it is that we did in the past. And again, this past tense is called the preterite tense. I'm going to call it the preterite from here on out, but don't be too intimidated by the word preterite. That simply means like the past, talking about the past tense. So looking at your notes, it says last chapter we reviewed the regular present tense verbs. Remember that a verb is an action word. It's something that you do. And like I just said, up until this point in your Spanish career, we've always talked about what is happening now using present tense verbs. So talking about yo acampo, I camp, or nosotros vamos, we go, or ellos cantan, they sing. All talking about what it is that everybody does now. But what if we want to talk about something that happened in the past? Not something that's happening now, but rather, I went, you camped, she sang, things that happened previously. So as is the case with present tense verbs, you'll find the stem, and all you would do is take the verb ending in AR, ER, or IR, and drop the AR, ER, or IR. So for example, hablar would become hable, comer would become com, and escribir would become escribe. Again, just dropping the AR, ER, or IR. And then to those stems, you'll add these new endings. Talk about how different people do things. You drop the AR, ER, or IR from the Spanish verb, and add the preterite ending that you want according to who's doing the verb. So that chart, let me move myself. That chart is going to look like this. For hablar, it would be yo hablé, tú hablaste, él y usted habló with the accent. Nosotros hablamos, and ellos hablaron. For an ER verb like comer, it would be yo comí, tú comiste, él y usted comió, nosotros comimos, and ellos comieron. And then IR verbs actually end the exact same way. Yo escribí, tú escribiste, él y usted escribió, nosotros escribimos, and ellos escribieron. And again, this is just the regular present tense. There's all sorts of weird irregular things. Remember how like the present tense had boot verbs and had some different weird things? This past tense also has weird things that happen, and we'll get into those really soon, actually. But for right now, all you're worried about are the regular endings. So with AR verbs, your endings are haste, o, amos, aron. For ER or IR verbs, it's iste, io, imos, ieron. That bold highlighted part that you see there. One last thing I wanted to mention, if you look at the, like for example, hablamos and escribimos, you'll notice that those endings are the exact same as with the present tense. So like for example, if I say nosotros hablamos, you don't know whether or not I'm talking about how we are talking now, like we talk, or how we talked in the past. Same with escribimos. You don't know if we're writing now, like we write, or if we wrote in the past. The way that we'll know that, it says note the forms of AR and IR are the exact same as the present tense. The way that you'll tell the difference is context. So like for example, if I were to say like nosotros hablamos el año pasado sobre whatever it is, if you see that phrase el año pasado, which we know from our vocab list means last year, that context clue will let you know that it's something that happened in the past, that we spoke then a year ago, last year, and we're not speaking now. So again, there's no way by looking at the verb to tell whether or not it's a preterite tense verb or a present tense verb. It'll just be the context of the sentence that lets you know. So chicos, I've kept it to about 5 minutes. That is it for this video. Just fill this out and then be prepared to practice tomorrow. I'll come with any questions you have, and we'll start practicing with the preterite tense tomorrow in class. Nos vemos mañana. Adios.